Beyond the finish line, I see the sun rise past the broken lights, through the battles and the lies. Every step I take, I'm leaving chains behind.
We rolling. All right. Welcome back to another recap. Talking about week 3. We had some really good games this weekend. We had some upsets. We had some the Georgia Tennessee game was an instant classic. West Virginia beating Pitt. And Georgia Tech shocking Clemson. As I said last week, Georgia Tech has a really good football team. Haynes King is the guy you want your culture built around. Vanderbilt goes up to Williams-Bryson, beats South Carolina. Diego Pavia goes in there and does exactly what I said they were going to do. Upset them. I don't know why it felt like it was going to happen, and I was so strong about it. There was just something about that game. Now, Lenora Sellers going down doesn't help. I don't think they win even with him, but we'll never know, obviously. Kind of way the game plays. Diego Pavia, is Vanderbilt going to make a run? Could we see Vanderbilt at the end of the season on top of the SEC? I just hope that the fans at Vanderbilt show out because they actually have a team that can put on a show. They have a team that can make a run. They have stars. Will they? Time will tell. We're going to run through the AP top 25 week 4. Ohio State at number 1. They had a tough Ohio Bobcats team come in there. Obviously, Ohio State did what they had to do, got the win. Boom. Penn State at number 2. Mostly everybody has Penn State at number 2. They keep it rolling past the Villanova team that is what it is. LSU, that defense had 5 interceptions on DJ Lagway, as I said earlier, who a lot of people had as their Heisman guy. With that, LSU at number 3. You go down Miami put a stop to that hype train in South Florida. I think Cristobal and the boys had them ready, prepared, and South Florida wasn't under the radar anymore. They may have beat Boise, kind of slide under the radar, but after they beat Florida, they put teams on notice. I think that Miami was prepared for them. At number 5, you've got Georgia. Gunnar Stockton should be talked about more in the Heisman conversation. I don't really think it was lack of explosives as I do. It's just been very vanilla. I think Kirby was just using the first 2 games as tune-up games to get physical, and then they started showing some things. Gunnar could play football, and Zachariah Branch is a speed demon. That dude caught that and was, see ya. None of the angles that the DBs took on him were anywhere close, and I don't know if that was because his speed was underrated or if he is just that fast. I will say the Georgia defense had a pretty tough time against the Volunteers. Oregon, I don't understand it, but they dropped 2 spots. It has to be just strength of schedule. And Dante Moore has been good this year. I think he had 1 touchdown, 15 or 16 for 20 against Northwestern. Can't be mad at that. That's how you win the ball game. Do what you got to do to win the game. This one's wild to me as Florida State moves up 3 spots on a bye week. That's pretty cool, but I don't really know how the Texas drops a spot after beating UTEP. You've got the Fighting Illini. They stay put at 9th. They have a big matchup coming up this next week in Bloomington against the Hoosiers. My opinion, game day probably should have been there. But the cool part is my opinion doesn't really matter. So from there, obviously, we got at number 10, Texas A&M. Huge win up at Notre Dame. Marcel Reed is good at the football. His legs, he's fast. He's putting people on skates out there. And his arm is starting to show. Mike Elko he's got a team. I think they're fast. I think they're physical. I think they're going to be a team that's going to be in the mix as we go later on. John Mateer in Oklahoma at number 11. As I've said, I think John Mateer is a guy. I think he's really good. They've got a tough matchup this weekend with Auburn, as high as I am on Auburn. But it's a Jackson Arnold revenge game. He's going back to Oklahoma to take on, Brent Venable. Now, who has the upper hand, Brent or Jackson? Because they played he faced that defense week in, week out. He's seen the looks, et cetera, et cetera. So is he going to be more prepared because he knows, or is Brent going to mix some things in that he hadn't seen, which obviously, but where's the upper hand there? That's going to be a good, if game day hadn't already been to Norman, I think it would have been there. Iowa State, they're up 2 spots from last week to number 12 after beating Arkansas State. Ole Miss up 4 spots after a 6-point win against Arkansas with their backup quarterback, Trinidad Chambliss, I believe. Austin Simmons did not play. I think Trinidad Chambliss did carry them to a win, and I think that that's what gives the Associated Press them going up 4 spots. At number 14 is Alabama. I think they got a wake-up call. I don't think they're a bad football team. I think losing at Florida State week 1 and the tape that was put out, I think it kind of like raised some flags, and everybody in that locker room got together as one, and we're going here because they have been rolling over teams since then. Ryan Williams made a filthy stop and go on one of the DBs this weekend, and if they get him going, look out. Ryan Williams is a star. So as they're going into their bye week, they're on a high. Georgia's on a high. They'll clash in Athens next weekend. Tennessee stays put at 15 after a tough loss. Obviously, they had a chance to win that game. I'm not mad about them not going down. I think, truthfully, if they win this weekend, they're going to move up a couple spots because that football game in general was, in my opinion, 2 playoff football teams. Tennessee and Georgia will both be in the college football playoff again at the end of the season, barring all. They can stay healthy. Both of those teams will be in the college football playoff at the end of the season. Mark my words. Utah Utes, they got I've talked about them a little bit. They're on the West Coast. I've not really got to watch as much of them. I know I've seen some highlights of Devin Dampier. He's electric. The dude is fun. See, they beat Wyoming last weekend, 31-6. Devin Dampier, 27 of 41 for 230 yards and 2 tuds. He also rushed for 86 yards. Throwing the ball 41 times a game that's your identity, I guess. But him also being the leading rusher kind of scares me. At 17, you've got Texas Tech. I'll say it again. Have they arrived? The NIL money that's poured into Lubbock, has the program finally arrived, and they're just going to keep rising the ranks every week. Morton is under the radar. I think he has a dozen touchdowns in the first. So I don't think he's talked about enough, the quarterback at Texas Tech. But I do think that there's something out there in Lubbock that's brewing, and there's going to be a battle for the Big 12 with them involved. Georgia Tech this weekend, as I said last week. Clemson coming to town. Haynes King, Brent Key, and the boys. Justice Haynes. I think it's Haynes and Haynes. Haynes King is fun. I mean, he will put his nose in there and get a first down. And I think he's a team first guy. The stats and all that nonsense, he doesn't really care about it. He wants to win. They have something rolling in Atlanta. Indiana looks like Kurt Signetti. I think he has a team this year. I think he's just gotten a little bit better than he was last year. I think his quarterback is a big jump in talent. With Mendoza, I don't think the media is going to let the hype do what it did last year for them. But nonetheless, if they take care of business this weekend, they might be getting talked about a little more. Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia, they go up there and upset South Carolina. Like I said, it was clear cut. It felt that way. I don't know if the South Carolina players heard the noise outside or what, but I think that it was something that was definitely felt. Michigan up 2 spots after their bye week. Again, I guess that has to do with Notre Dame and South Carolina falling. You've got Auburn, as I said, and I will keep pounding the drum. Auburn's one of my favorite football teams this year as the package. Now, it could be messed up quick. The way Jackson Arnold uses his legs, Hugh Freeze has a team, and I think that they got something brewing, but they've got a tough matchup coming up this weekend against Oklahoma. Like I said earlier, revenge game for Jackson Arnold. John Mateer is going to want to sling it across the yard for his head coach now. So I think we're in for a good game this weekend with that one. At 24, Notre Dame, they're down 16 spots this week. I get it. They lost to two really good football teams. They've had a bye week, yes. Why do we have an 0-2 team? I'm not saying that they can't go win a game this weekend and next weekend and move back up in the ranks because they lost to those big dogs. What are we doing? Having an 0-2 team ranked in the top 25. I can't grasp that. You've got the Trojans of USC. They have entered the top 25 this week. They are Hollywood's team because UCLA, there's some trouble over there. The Bruins got trouble. Nico done took all their money. They done fired their head coach. No fans to go to the games. Boy, it's a dumpster fire at UCLA right now. With that, that's the AP Top 25 after week 3. Heading into week 4, we got some good matchups. Not a huge slate, but we do got a good few matchups. Probably some upsets. I'm gonna dig into those, and I'll be back on my week 4 preview to throw those at you. I appreciate you coming in. If you enjoyed it, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, leave a comment, subscribe, follow. I would appreciate it. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. I'll be back next week.
Beyond the finish line, I see the sun